Too bad. Hey, we got that eye. We got that eye. Y'all ready?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Here we go. Welcome to Creative Makers Podcast with your host, Joey with Steel Blade Woodworks, Matt with Wacky Works Workshop, Jen with Jen's Turns, Jamie with JP Woodwork, and Jake with Northside Custom Crafts. Well, welcome to episode 17 of Creators Makers Podcast. I'm Joey with Steel Blade Woodworks, and today we got Mr. Andy Birkey with us. How y'all doing?
Andy
Hello.
Birkey,
Hello.
the Creator Taters.
You freaks.
Hey, I got it right today. I sounded all professional.
Yeah, you did.
There you go.
And I just messed it all up.
He's a big boy. We got
Anyhow.
the Creator Taters.
The way we usually started off, Andy, thank you for joining us tonight. And we usually start off and just ask the person up on the hot seat, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get started? And let's go with that first.
Whew, boy, so I was the weird little kid nobody hung out with for most of my childhood. I grew up kind of out in the woods of California and Washington State. And I kind of learned to entertain myself early on. And my dad was a preacher. So before that, he was a carpenter. And so there was carpentry tools always around. And, just kind of picked it up and really didn't have a real clear memory of not making stuff and building forts and whatever we could do to actually back in the day, Mom threw you out of the house after breakfast and you get your chores done and then you better not be back here until the lights dark. Exactly. She had a big police whistle and when that thing went off, you knew you had to get your butt back to the house. But other than that, you better entertain yourself. And man, I tell you what, we joke about it, but that the ability to just be happy hanging out by myself and entertain myself, has always served me well through my life. I've always enjoyed it and didn't need a lot of attention. So yeah, I mean, I cooked with my mom in the kitchen from an early age, and then worked in the garage with my dad. And then by 12 or so, I was making. I got some plans for plywood dehydrators, and my dad said, "Here's a table saw, have a go at it." And so, yeah, it took me all summer to build 5 or 6 of them, I think. And I think I sold them for $50 a piece. But yeah, it was kind of just that there wasn't this epiphany moment where you go, "Oh, sweet, I can do stuff," or whatever. It was just kind of always there.
All right, Andy. My name is Jake for everybody at home, and I do a little icebreaker most of the time. So, Andy, you and myself and Jamie got to visit the most beautiful place I've ever been kicked out of. And I try to explain to people. I try to articulate how cool that was, and being with you was like took it up a notch. Could you try to explain that little trip that we took and what you got out of it?
Yeah, I mean, how sometimes you just feel like all of the cosmos have come together in one space and time. In 2019, there was Maker Central, and I needed to be there to meet a designer that I was going to be working with in London. And we just mashed it together with the Maker Central trip, and Jamie and Jake we went to Canterbury Cathedral, and on just the day I landed, I believe it was after Jamie almost got arrested at the airport,
Sounds like a wonderful trip.
It's just a regular,
Great,
regular
Out,
Thursday.
rested.
Just Thursday.
I think it was a Thursday, actually. Yeah, we did go into Canterbury Cathedral, and I'm kind of a neo-Gothic, or in this case Gothic, dork. It's just ever since I was 18 and stumbled into the Cologne Cathedral in Germany. It's just been something that has tilted me big time, both from a design perspective and a physical building perspective. It's amazing to me, and I think always will have a fascination. But yeah, man, you kind of get into a place that is the apex, and it was really cool to see it through Jamie and Jake's eyes, and I feel like we were all tripping really hard for a couple of hours, I think, and it was just it was a weirdly special moment in time where I know Jake was tripping. I think Jamie was just trying not to get hurt, but they tried to close it down while we were still in there, and things happen. So,
He said,
what's your take on that, Jake?
Well, the guy said, that guy was like, "Hey," he said, "All right," and you said, "Are you kicking us out?" He said, "Gently edging you towards the door." Super nice. I couldn't believe it was hard to. I've been a mechanic, and I've done a lot like yourself. You figure out how to do things, and so you look at something and you go, "How? Like, how did they do that? Like, how did 1,200, 1,300 years ago? How did they do that?" You just don't understand. However much history is there, and there was a lot of things that you said, "Hey, here's how they get the depth on the sculpture, and here's how they do this." There's a bunch of that stuff, but you just look at the grandness of it, and you go, "How did they do it?" I think you said on that trip, it's supposed to, that whole thing is meant to humble us.
Yep.
And it definitely did, and it was worth the trip. I remember leaving there going, "Well, I can go home now." It's worth the trip. It was worth the trip to England just to go and see that. It was one of the coolest things I've ever done.
Yeah, it's very weird that somebody can pull off a commission like that. And the cool thing about that is it's meant to overwhelm you, and if it does, and but the mass of the detail, once you start breaking it down, it still comes down to the little details that we deal with, in our shops. It's just detail, but there's just a metric ton of it.
Yeah.
So, hello, everybody. I'm Jen with Jen's Turn. Andy, thanks for joining us this evening. And one of the things I know about you, and I find very interesting, all of your detail work. I have a shaper origin, and I can barely skim the surface of what it can do. I've watched some of your stuff, and you use it so well and do amazing things with it. What percentage of your projects would you say you do with the shaper?
Ooh, it's crazy. I find myself, whatever that percentage is, to put a number on it, it increases all the time. So I feel like it will replace eventually quite a few different tools in the shop for me, which is very weird because I kind of feel like a cyborg with it. I'm not a CNC guy with the big table and the gantries and all that stuff because I'm just not that computer literate. But I feel like for me, that machine crosses the gap, bridges the gap between CNC and old school tactile involvement with the tool, right? So to me, it's just this super intuitive crossover, and it fits my brain really well, and especially with some of the new software that they're coming out with, where I can take a picture now I will be next month, with the program is called Trace, and you can hand draw anything, and it it converts it into an SVG and imports it to the machine just like that. And
Yeah.
wow, I've been on them for years to get that kind of, because to me, when I'm creating, I lay a lot of my stuff out full scale. I'll get a 4x8 sheet of plywood or whatever. I've been known to do that, and just, if I make a mistake, just get the random orbital sander out and erase everything and start again. Yeah, just get out the eraser. But yeah, it's going to be more and more, even more than it has in the past.
Nice.
It fits.
It does. I enjoy using it.
Hey everybody, my name is Matt Wackerly with Wacky Works. Andy, you got some phenomenal stuff. What's been your most challenging piece to date? And that may be a hard question, but I mean,
yes and no. I mean, the first Gothic piece I did maybe almost 25 years ago now was 29 feet tall, almost 10 meters.
So you started it out small.
Yeah, that was the very first. And I didn't, I'll be honest with you, I didn't know how to carve when I signed that paperwork.
But you did when you got done?
I went to a Mark Adams School of Woodworking, which is one of the nicer premier woodworking schools here in the States, and I signed up for a carving class with the master cabinet maker of Colonial Williamsburg at the time, and I kind of snuck in the back. And first break, he motions me up forward, and he's like, "You're not like the rest of the kids, are you?" And I said, "No, sir, I'm not." Because, it was guys that were doctors and lawyers, and, and I'm obviously not that. And I said, yeah, I just said that I would build this 10 meter tall altar, and I don't know how to carve. And he said, "You move up to the front row." So, I mean, the guy was super cool, spent a lot of hours after classes, and just, man, you talk about a week where you just, your arms are on fire every morning when you wake up because you're so getting after it so hard. But man, I just been super fortunate in that kind of occurrence where, the Buddhists say that when the teacher when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I really have had multiple occasions in my world where that's happened. And Mac Headley Jr. was continues to be an influence on me, 25 years later. So, but I will tell you, Matt, the one of the more recent ones where I had to do actual sculptural organic leaves and things in clay, and then take a mold off of that and then make multiple castings off of it. That one was the scariest because I was completely out of my preferred, all the materials that I was familiar with, all the tools. I mean, it was just this, I felt like I was a fish flopping around on a dock. And Carolyn Hins from Prop Shop Berlin had encouraged me and pushed me towards trying some sculpting stuff, and it really scared me. And but you kind of get into the flow, and next thing you know, the advantage that we have as creatives is, number one, we know the learning curve, even though it blows every time you go into a new genre, a new material. But we know it's going to happen. We know we're going to, want to cry in the middle of the room a few times. And then
you're crying.
Exactly. Hey, crying. So, you do get that sort of, I may not know the material, but I know how to learn a material. Right.
Yeah.
So, but that one's shook my world. I'll be honest with you.
That one took a while, right?
It did. Yeah. Yeah. Like 6 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
4 months, I think, maybe something like that.
I'm gonna go to your stories and be like, "Where's he at now? Where's he at?"
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there was many a times where you work for a day and then you come in the next morning with a cup of coffee and look at it and go, nope, just scrape that all off. And,
we're starting over.
Yeah. The ability to punt, in American football, it's every American football team has a punter
For a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, everyone. I'm Jamie from JP Woodwork. So, Andy, you've just answered one of my questions already about the carving. So I'm going to move on to one of my other ones. Since you stole it, I'm going to obviously blame you. So you are known for actually getting the blame quite a lot. How did the blame Birkey deal come to be?
You probably remember this better than I do. I'm trying to think. Well, the concept behind Blame Birkey is, do you remember how it started, Jamie?
I can't remember who it was that started it, but it was something to do with when it pictures or something like that.
Yeah, it's to me I feel like as creatives, sometimes we get overly obsessed with the material and the tools and all that. And I really believe that it really starts more with observing what's around us and taking inspiration from the things that everybody else misses. And part of me wanted to give people in our world the license to stop and, look at the curve of a escalator or or the geometric shapes in a flower, whatever tilts you, because to me, that's where it starts, not at the, tool store. It's really, if you really want to go beyond your comfort zone, that's where it starts. And so the Blame Birkey, just if anybody, looks at you weird for, doing a hyper close up of a flower or whatever, blame me and then just carry on, keep doing it. So that's kind of the gist of it. I wish I could remember who came up with the actual phraseology, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
All right. So my question to you, let's talk about Earl. How did that
Earl
come about?
I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah, right there. Right there. Let's hear the backstory on that for all the listeners out there and the people that are going to view this.
Earl, I found him in a antique store, and just immediately he never went in the house. He went to the shop, and he's lived there. He lives out there and works at night mainly. He's pretty much during the day he doesn't say a lot, but from what the guys tell me, that during the night, okay, that's enough.
Super creepy.
Yeah. So yeah, he that's Earl. I mean, he's kind of come into his own. I think at one point he'll have his own YouTube channel. So
Really?
There you
Wow.
go. Interesting.
There you go.
It's like people's dogs that have their own Instagram pages and stuff.
exactly. Probably
Put a different set
better
of
than
clothes.
mine, I'll tell you that.
All right, Andy, you might have mentioned this already, but I just wanted to know where your love for the church architecture. You're doing all these jobs that it come. You mentioned your dad was a preacher. Is that where you first saw it and became interested in doing it, or how did it come about?
No, actually, the antithesis of that.
Big word alert.
Okay,
Oh, you guys
Yeah.
like big words.
the opposite of that. How about that? No, I by the time I was 18 or near 18, I was completely dangerous and done with all things associated with anything to do with church, and worked for 4 months in a factory, and then left for Europe right out of. I actually was cutting pipe on a 2.5-ton metal cutting bandsaw at 6 a.m. the day after high school graduation, and just grabbed as many hours as I could because I was so bent, and I just wanted to leave. And so I ended up in Europe, supposedly going to school. I lived at a school. I have no idea what they taught there, but yeah, I got an amazing education, and I jumped off the train in Cologne, Germany, which if you want to check out an amazing piece of architecture, the Cologne Cathedral is right outside of the train station, and that there was one of those moments that it absolutely hit me like a brick. And even though I had absolutely no desire to, I was done. I was into punk rock, and we were trashing stuff, and the hooligan scene was I brushed up against that in Manchester eventually. And, but there was that one thing. And then it was just a matter of opportunities that presented themselves years later, a decade later. And, I was spending time cruising around the Caribbean and working down there. And, again, couldn't have scripted doing Gothic stuff if I would have tried, but it sucked me in.
Cool. All right.
Looking through your stuff and watching your stories that come through, we've seen you work with a lot of different mediums, everything from glass to woodworking to clay, different types. What's your favorite medium to work with?
Well, I was trained as a woodworker, so I'm freest when there's no expectations. So I hold myself to a stupid high level of expectation when I'm working with wood. So it's intense, right? But like we were talking with the clay, I knew I was going to screw up. So to me, you get closer to the bone, back to that, almost like when you're a kid and you're just playing. You're trying to get somewhere, but there's very little expectation. And on that sculptural piece, it was scary, but it was really freeing. And I enjoyed the heck out of that. And I'm actually anxious to get back to doing some more stained glass work, which I haven't done in a long, long time. I'm going to start another quilt this year, and quilting is amazingly fun. Again, I make bad quilts, but
My mom was a quilter.
Really?
Fun ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So to me, it's, I said it before, it's kind of whatever is scaring me most at the moment is what I enjoy the most. Because, all your senses are tingling, and, I really, really enjoy cooking, because I can go deep into, the chemistry of baking. The thing about cooking is it's every sense is involved, which I don't know of another genre of making that involves all of our senses, which makes it, makes it fun.
I think I know the answer to this, but I want to ask it anyways.
Oh God!
Have you ever had a project that you just couldn't finish? You couldn't complete it. It was a failure. I just don't think you have that in you. I'm just talking to you, listening to you. But have you had something that you failed at first that you learned something from majorly?
Oh yeah. Matter of fact, kicking it back, quarter of a century ago, when I was working on that big altar piece, we worked on it, two of us, for 2 weeks, and we came to the conclusion that we couldn't go any further. So we literally took it apart, with sledgehammers. And
at least it makes you still feel good.
Took it apart.
It really did. It was totally cathartic because, you're after all this, it was just like, no. And once you make that decision, then it's just rubbish. And we whacked at it. And then, and everything that was learned in that 2 weeks eventually really propelled that whole thing forward in a big way. But yeah, it was definitely a punt situation where this is wrong, and there's no like fixing it. So the bad thing about Gothic stuff is it's math, man. It is some serious math, and you either pay homage to it or you don't, and that'll determine which I like that challenge. And then the flip side of it is, like the clay thing, there's no math. It's all just organic shapes and observation and all that. So I enjoy the bipolar part of that.
A really expensive way to make toothpicks.
But boy, is it fun.
372.
A lot of the things that you make, Andy, sometimes come with a story. With that being said, some of the stuff that you make comes with a story. If that is the case, do you sometimes find it easier or harder or a lot more stressful making said item if there is a connection with a client, if there is a story behind it?
Yeah, there's weight. There's definitely weight on some projects. I wasn't too long ago. I did I got a random call. Almost didn't take it, but it was a call from Arizona, and a widow who had just lost her husband, who is a farmer here locally, asked me to tear down a barn, or to harvest enough timbers out of a barn to make a memorial bench for her husband that would go on the land that he farmed for 60 years. And I'll tell you what, it's part of the deal. But yeah, that's heavy. It's pretty heavy stuff, because she was having trouble getting through the description of what she wanted, and the reality of it is it's about people, and urns, burial urns are those can be really, really heavy, again, because you're trying to do right by people, and
You just automatically care 10 times more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's and it's such a freaking honor that people trust you with that kind of stuff. It's I don't know. I think you don't have a soul. if you don't.
I was kind of referring back to one of my favourite stories that you ever tell, and that's the old man and the altar.
Oh, geez. Sheesh. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't. Well, just to retell the story briefly, 25 years ago, we were working in that church, and my brother-in-law, who was working with me at the time, kind of gave me a nudge, and he said, "Hey, you better go check that out or something." And I turned around, and there was a 80-year-old-ish guy sitting in the front row, crying. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll go down and see what I can do. And so I asked him if there was anything I could do, if I could go get the priest for him or something. And he looked at me and he said, "No, you've done quite enough." And I went, "Oops, what's
That's usually not good."
Yeah, typically. But he said that, so in this church, we built the big altar in the middle, and then there are side altars. So one of them is Mary, and one of them is for Joseph. And the Mary one is what the bride kneels to pray during a wedding. But what this guy told me was that the last time that he saw the Mary altar there, it was his wedding, and he had just lost his wife. And he was just, he had walked in and didn't know that we had installed it just very shortly before that. And it just hit him, and so yeah, we sat there and cried together. I'm not ashamed to admit it. It was just too much, and and it was super cool because he ended up coming back about a week later, and he had taken his whole wedding album and copied all of the pictures in it for us and gave them to us, which was just super emotional. It was super cool. I still have a lot of those pictures. So
nice.
Yeah, it does get pretty heavy sometimes. I'm glad.
So, sorry, go ahead.
I'm glad you remembered that story, Jamie, because I kind of had passed on that one. But
so you do some amazing casing work, arches, stuff like that. So I've always been attracted to learning how that's done, because there's very different ways to do it. And how do you come up with like the jigs you have? Because I'm looking at some that's you're doing flutes in an arch. So how do you how do you accomplish that? Because it's not easy to do that.
No, it is born out of panic most of the time, because
sounds like my work.
I need a jig.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not Franken Izzy Swan, for criminy sakes, So most of my jigs look like, some sort of a experiment that gone bad, but typically they work, and just understanding the dynamics of forces and how things move around a curve. To me, curves are so awesome because, again, either they're right or they're absolutely wrong, and there's not a whole lot of play. I'm that guy that goes into a public building or a rotunda or something of a state capitol or something, and I'm running my hand along the curved, marble handrail to see if the guy's got it fared out right,
Yeah.
So
it's cool to be able. I always, when I see stuff like that, I try to figure out how did they accomplish that. To get curves in wood like that is just so freaking amazing. That just always, I've been always attracted to that, and I'm over there trying to figure out how did they do that. How did they get that done?
That's when they call security usually.
They really do.
but that to me is there's nothing sexier than a curve well done. You know what I mean? It's
Amen, brother.
Oh, yeah.
Amen. Let me tell you.
Yeah, but it's just panic, Joey, to the most part, is just, how to get something to be steady going through a router bit spinning at 28,000 RPM and not eat it, that's the, I like skateboard wheels. Skateboard wheels are awesome for jigs.
Really?
Not skateboard,
bearings.
What were the inline skates? What were those called?
Razor blades. What are they called? Razor blades.
Roller blades.
Roller blades. Yeah.
Razor blades.
Razor blades.
Yeah.
Razor blades on your laser beams.
Those are usually straight, Joey.
Yeah, those things are awesome though. They hold stuff nice. Yeah, keep an eye on your secondhand store for roller blades and pull those off of there.
Nice. Hey, when I first started following you, you were doing like morning sunset photos. And you've done it for a long time and everything. So how did that come about, and it just by practice did you become so awesome about it? We talked to Heidi Jacobs last week or the week before and talked about the photography, how you and Jamie left us in the dust on your conversation. And so obviously you're into photography, but I always thought that was cool. And how did that get started?
Completely no schooling in photography whatsoever. So I'm one of those cats that a lot of the old school photographers hate. Once a high resolution digital camera became available to me, and I didn't have to worry about, every 36, pulls of the trigger, I had to send it off somewhere or whatever. I don't know. I just became fascinated with trying to see more than most people and put more intention into, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but just being in the moment, being present and not, it's because it's like a little mini vacation. So when I had two dogs together, it became something that we could do together, because the dogs would know that they couldn't, if I was stopping to do something, they would both just settle in, and so we were able to go out into the country and enjoy. They would get some good leg work in, and I could do my thing too. But it's truly a matter of fact. I was asked to do an exhibition at an art center, and I knew it wasn't going to happen because my artist statement said, I told them that I didn't really care if anybody else ever saw my photography, because it had already done its work for me. And that was just kind of almost, it's a meditative thing. And I don't think they took that too well, and I didn't get the show. So
no soup for you.
Exactly. But that's how I truly felt about it. Is I think if we allow people to judge our art, we give them power over our art. And especially the stuff that I'm doing for my own enjoyment, which is more and more all the time, bite me. I'm going to do and make what I want. And if you don't dig it, it's totally cool. I get it.
You say,
but
watch your mouth. You say, but watch your mouth.
Exactly.
Sorry, my brain just froze. You said that a lot of times, exactly, that's what it looked like inside there. You said that a lot of times you'll sketch out your work ahead of time, full scale. So do you do that the majority of the time? So are you not using a sketch or a CAD or some kind of electronic program to do?
No, not really. I have people that like a complicated Gothic panel. It's all about arcs, and locating arcs. I can draw that out and give people that I work with, give them the arc points and the length of the arc, and then show them how that relates. To create a Gothic arch, you've got there's definite math that has to happen and definite locations. So if I'm going down that path, I send it off, just because it's not efficient for me to. Unfortunately, I haven't taken the time to, go to community college or whatever and take some CAD classes or something. But for me, it's either there is no drawing whatsoever, or I'm laying it out in full scale and then work from there. A lot of times I'll take a piece of plywood, lay it out in full scale, and then just stand that up and then reference it. So it's kind of stupid old school, but
hey,
that's kind of
works.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's quick for me, because I'm so used to doing it. So to do it, to work in a smaller scale on a sheet of paper, for instance, and then to blow it up takes more time for me than doing it full scale.
Yeah.
Well, in a follow-up, so that the Shaper Trace, the new item that's coming out next month that we're excited to get, that's limited in the space. So do you have a lot of smaller items that you work on that you'll draw out and use that?
Yeah.
Or do you picture using it in sections and piecing it together?
Yeah, either that or I will probably scale down for that. I'm, depending on how that particular item fits into the workflow. If I need to pull it down, then I can, because with that piece, I can scale right back up instantly on board, right? So there's not that lag time between, scaling down and then scaling back up. Half of that is gone. So
gotcha.
I'm dead fascinated to figure that out, to be honest.
I'll be watching, see what you do. Mine will probably be hanging on the wall where I go, hey, that's pretty cool. I could probably do that someday.
I have that. I can't wait to get it because I jumped on that because I'm going to utilize it with 3D printing, because there's been some things that I've been wanting to do that's going to make so much easier. Like it's like really stupid simple with that thing now. I think eventually they're going to start expanding that frame. I think this is just kind of like, let's get going. And then that thing's going to get to a bigger scale to where it's going to make things like what you do that are on a bigger scale more attainable, a lot easier by doing that, which that thing is so cool. Not saying that I'm going to get a shaper, but I'm going to utilize that.
Tell him, Joey, say, what are those dominoes? That's all we ever hear from Joey. What are those dominoes?
What's a domino?
I'm fixing to
what are
find
the dots for?
I still haven't been able to wrap my brain around that. I'm like, I watch videos and I'm like,
it's just a map.
I know that, but I'm still trying. I guess something that I need. Yeah, how? How's that? I don't have one in front of me. I've been able to figure everything else out. I know if I had one in front of me, but I'm still not going to get one though. Not yet.
Stinking Jimmy DeResta in 2017, man, he drugged me across Maker Faire, San Francisco. He says, I got it, the tool you got to see. And he was dead right. It was just, it's the second I saw it, it was like, yep, that's me right there.
And it's so cool though. I mean, it really, it's portable. That's the coolest thing about it, right? I can't take my CNC anywhere, but you can take that, right? And I'm still not sold on it. I've looked at it a few times. Jen has it, and we've seen her do what she does with it, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I always got other tools that I want to get before it's. What's dominoes for?
Need a break for a little game,
Yeah.
Playing them bones.
Yeah.
So you're in your shop, you're doing your thing. What are you doing in your shop? What are you listening to? What are you just nothing? Or are you listening to music? You podcasting it? What are you doing?
No podcast when I'm in design mode. No talking whatsoever. And it does vary day to day basically on what I'm doing, but a lot of social distortion, Black Flag sometimes, old school punk. Yeah, old school punk is kind of my jam from back in the day. But there's days when I've got to dial it way back, and I'll listen to classical or opera or Buddhist chants. It really is what, if there's a day where it's just super, you're just going through the process and you're not inventing anything. I'll crank up. I really like Americana, which is more of an old school form of country ish stuff. But it really does vary. But man, it's a broad swath, and I've had people walk into the shop that go, "Oh my God, what are you listening to now?" It's all over the place. Same. For the up tempo times, it's a lot of old punk, reggae. I do a lot of reggae, which is fine. Okay. I prefer like the 70s Toots and the Mayalls and those guys. It's a lot of it is a soundtrack from my life too, because I spent 6 years in the Caribbean, and we listened to reggae 24/7 down there, and there's a lot of good memories.
Yeah, interesting.
Nice.
Yeah. So you just mentioned the Caribbean. You obviously said you went to school in Germany. So you've obviously travelled around quite a lot, not to mention in the US. So my question is, if you could set out shop anywhere in the world, where would it be?
The Azores.
The what?
Huh?
The what?
Come on.
Elaborate.
You should have seen the looks on your faces. All of you were just like,
huh?
Oh,
oh, that's going on a reel.
Joey's been waiting for that, Jim.
Oh no, there's already been a few. I got it all planned out already, I think.
No, the Azores are the part of Portugal. They're a subtropical piece of island, bunch of islands in the middle of the Atlantic that have kind of captured my attention right now. There, Iceland is someplace I need to get to. I don't know. It's a very interesting question because, you start, it's easy to say, a rando place, but it's hard to say, okay, well, what about availability of tooling and materials and, all that stuff's kind of getting homogenized over the world now, but we're pretty spoiled here in the States and the continent and the UK where, stuff's available. And on one hand, it would be almost interesting to be in a situation where you had some carving tools and some sticks from the bush or whatever, and you give it a go and see where, again, whatever scares you the most.
Especially now you know how to carve.
Sorry?
Especially now you know how to carve.
Yeah, exactly.
In the chat, Michael would like to know excuse me, which island?
To be honest, I would go at this point on any of them. I would probably tend to be on one of the off islands for a little more quiet. Having lived in a tourist island thing for a while, you get pretty burned out on the heavy tourist traffic. So yeah, try to find some place that's a bit not heavy in the mainstream.
Gotcha.
Is it my turn?
It is.
It is.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because that's this 5 seconds of silence is brought to you by.
Your turn this week, Joey.
I'm awake.
so I got to know about these goggles that you wear because they're on the thumbnail. They're throughout your Instagram. Tell us a story about these goggles. What is that?
Dude, it's rando. I swear to God, I lived my life like 3/4 rando all the time. It's like the question of how did you get into Gothic stuff? I don't know. I have no idea. Somebody sent me a pair of those goggles and it just became a thing and just went with it.
And here we go.
Well, okay.
That is
Here we go.
honestly the way it happened.
Here you go, Andy. Speed round, and then we'll let you get out of here. On your stories, see some kids you're teaching some kids how to do some construction work. How fulfilling is that? How cool is that? And are they learning?
Oh yeah. I've never considered myself a teacher, because back in the day it's still about production. So just do what I tell you and I'll explain it later type of thing, with apprentices and stuff. But yeah, I've really enjoyed just watching a kid figure out how to efficiently grip a trigger of a screw gun or something like that, and have them do a pneumatic nail gun and to feel the impact and whoa, it's kind of wild to them, right? It's not a controlled thing like a video game, and to help them see that and feel that and have a visceral tactile involvement with a tool is to me is super cool, and it's been fun. And Georgie and his sister come over frequently, and yeah, they own the place. So
There you go.
that's a cool question, though. Thanks for that one.
Look like a good teacher, by the way. Even though you don't call yourself a teacher, looks like you're doing a good job.
Yeah, I can always send them home. So
There you go.
So they've been helping you with the new shop.
Yeah.
How much longer do you think it'll be before you get it? And I know that construction is never a guaranteed. Here's your move-in date, but what's your guesstimate?
I'll be in before winter. So it's we're doing the electrical rough-in on Saturday, and which is kind of cool. And then just siding gets us inside, doing tight knot cedar siding all the way on this one. So yeah, I think we'll be mid to late fall. Should be in and fired up, and I'm pretty stoked to have it back because I've really realized that I've always said making is not what I'm doing, it's who I am. And you get that jerked away from you for a few months, and you realize that it's mental health for me. I've been cooking a lot in the interim because it's something that I can do that's short-term projects. Then I get to eat them too, which helps.
Nice.
But yeah.
So out of all the wood that you worked with, what's your favorite wood to work with?
Well, historically, a lot of the stuff that I've done has been painted and gold leafed and or gold leafed. So I do like poplar and basswood for carving. But again, that's a pretty narrow amount of the materials that fascinate me. But yeah, it directly related to your question. I think I like those just because they take a super clean edge and take very little prep, especially for gold leaf work, which you can't hide any baubles or anything in gold leaf. It's right out there for everybody to make fun of you.
Yeah. So, Andy, you and I have known each other for many, 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 many years. I've even got your logo of Seymour tattooed on my leg.
Yes.
So I think that gives me some sort of eligibility to ask this question.
Oh no.
So my question is, what's the most amount of people you were showered in front of?
What?
200.
Exactly 200.
Well, it wasn't exactly. That's an estimation, but so yeah.
Are we talking wedding shower or?
No, I guess we're telling this story, Jamie?
Jamie.
I was doing some construction work in Haiti, and I made the mistake one day of some kids walked by this community center that I was building. Some kids came by with a soccer ball, and I had played some soccer back in the States. And so I juggled it a few times and kicked it back to them, and they just lost their minds. And so they wanted me to play a game with them on Sunday. And I said, that's fine, but I'll need to take a shower because I have a meeting. We had like an in-country meeting every Sunday night. And so we played in the tropical heat with a field that was full of dust. And we were just completely covered in dirt and, mud, basically. It was sweat. So we quit, and the kids, I said, okay, where's the shower? And they said, this way. And so we walked down this path, and I was starting to get a bad feeling. And the shower was a concrete wall with 6 pipes sticking out of it that just ran water. And all the little kids had gone forward into the village and let everybody know that the gringo was coming and he was going to take a shower. Well, at that time, I'd been in the Caribbean for quite a while, and to see me, I was as dark as a lot of the people there. And so I come to the realization that I had no choice, and this was going to happen, because even if I couldn't pull it off, literally, it was going to be an issue. So I just turned around and dropped my drawers, and an absolute crowd of people started laughing at me. And I remember looking over my shoulder and seeing this Haitian grandma grab her chest like she fainted back into the arms of her daughters. She was laughing so hard, and basically my butt was very, very white between the tan and the dust and dark. I looked like I was half Haitian, and except for my butt, which was neon white. And so that's the story of showering. You don't have a lot of ego left after you shower in front of 200 laughing people. You don't
even why you're so humble.
You don't get embarrassed very much.
So I guess my last question will be, as a fellow connoisseur of tacos, or as you northerners may call it, burritos, what is your favorite one? I see you have gone through quite a few of them.
Yeah, I like them all, but carne asada is my go-to. Just get in there and get half a dozen down you as fast as you can, and life is good.
That's the California in you, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was raised with a lot of the migrant workers that worked the fields back in the day, and I did. That's where I learned the love of in that case, all things Mexican food, because man, love it.
Some good stuff. Good stuff.
Makes me happy.
It does too. Can you tell? Well, this is we're gonna go ahead and get on out of here. But if you want to let us know what's coming up for you, and then we'll go around the table here and just kind of brief everybody on what's coming up.
For me, I'm in kind of a transition time. To be honest, I don't know what's next for me. But I think it'll be fun. And I think it's going to be a little more free as far as I think the things I'll be making will be a little different than what I have been. And, I don't know that I will ever do a massive church project again, because quite frankly, it takes a lot out of me. And, I'm 61 now, so I'm ready to back it up a little bit. And, but that doesn't mean, I think instead of saying, he's backing out, it's not that. It's more of shifting. All my career, I've tried to shift as my physical capacities have changed, just shift and go with what I can do. And I'm kind of jacked to explore some things that I haven't tried before. And, it'll be a weird ride. It should be fun.
Instagram, Andy Birkey's Instagram, link below.
What is it? Andy_Birkey.
There you go.
Yeah.
Jenny Jen.
Hello, everybody. I have a farmer's market this weekend, and this past week I got a new toy set up on the laser. I got the Pyburn Grip Rotary, started making tumblers.
Ooh.
So much fun. Already getting orders for those. So that's what I'm working on right now.
There we go. Matt Wackerly.
I'm working on the CNC vacuum bed and kind of doing a DIY kind of thing and do a comparison on it. So that's what I'm on.
But Matt, what about your certificate collection?
All those?
Yeah.
That's done. He's not working on it. He's not working on it anymore.
Or what?
No, I got 3 more I just got over the last month. So I got.
Oh, come on, man!
Try to be humble.
I always got to get them, unfortunately.
So I've finished the 6 foot. It ain't that big. 6-inch sphere, which is actually closer to 7 inches.
7 inches.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
I'm just going to make a base for it now, and then start making some other stuff. So yeah, that should be this week and this week's video, and then we've got some big news coming up on Saturday for cartoons.
That's right. Saturday morning cartoons is 2 years. We have a bunch of stuff to give away this weekend. Me and Jamie are going to have a meeting tomorrow, and he's going to tell me what we're going to do. So come and see us on Saturday morning cartoons. 2 years.
Every Saturday. How many Saturdays have you missed in 2 years?
0.
The show has not missed one. I missed one.
Wow.
Jamie's missed a couple, but it's gone on. All of us have something to do with it. So if one of us is out, somebody fills in.
That is amazing.
It works out great.
Well done. Jeez.
Thank you, sir.
Very dedicated. Myself, I'm going to carry on with the office renovation now. I'm going to try to get a video out on the new router table I got. But that's about it. Next week, we have Mr. Jigsy Shed on the show, for a good friend of ours from across the pond in the UK. So y'all come check him out. Same time, same place, same beautiful faces. And I'm not forgetting anything, am I?
We're supposed to not have a pause before the music comes, right?
Oh, but everybody's links down below. You want to follow, go follow Andy. And we're going to pause for a second.
iTunes and